Okay, I think it's time to start. People or participants are still joining, but we will admit them during the conference. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ali Abdullah, and I'm the director of public relations, and and I will be with you with Dr. Ranch. He's the director of international office. So today we have closing ceremony of a very important project, which is TIGRIS. So we are very happy to host you at Erbil Polytechnic University. At the first, as we planned in the agenda, we have a group picture together. So just if you can turn on the camera, and then we will take a picture together. Okay, I'm taking the picture now. So this is the first slide. Okay, smile. Okay, this is the first slide because we have so many guests. So I think it takes a little bit time to take the picture. Okay. This is the second slide, and this is the third slide. Great. So we have the picture, and okay. So I would like to share the agenda of the closing ceremony of TIGRIS project. Firstly, we have some small changes. So let me read all the agenda, because I guess that we have a lot of guests from other universities, and I'm sure that some of them haven't got the agenda. So what we have now, we have taken the picture, group picture, and after that we have opening the ceremony, and we will present a video of international relations office. And after that, we have opening or welcoming addresses from dear Dr. Kawa Sherwani. He's the director of Erbil Polytechnic University. After that, we have speech of Dr. Mohammad. He's the general of quality assurance of the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research. After that, we have Dr. Zana. He's on behalf of Dr. Paula Khanaka, the president of Kurdistan Institution and Strategic Studies and Scientific Research. After that, you can see that we have two different times, 11 and 10. So this the 11 is Erbil time, and this is the 10 is Europe time. And after that, we have on 3 years of TIGRIS presented by Dr. Moss from Göttingen University. He's the head of and the main coordinator of TIGRIS project. And after that, we have TIGRIS in the third year, striving for sustainability and systematic impact, presented by Dr. Briar Hassan and from KISR. And after that, we have modernization of higher education sector of Kurdistan region of Iraq in international context, requirements and next steps, presented by Dr. Robert. And he's a professor of history and politics of higher education and director of International Training Academy in Göttingen University. And after that, we have capacity building by translation, supporting Bologna Bologna reforms in the Kurdistan region by translating key literature into Kurdish, presented by Dr. Jamal Ali Omar. He's the head of English department from University of Rabrin. After that, we have I have problem with this word. Internationalization goes digital, presenting the management information system of Kurdistan higher educational, institution, presented by Dr. Nauzad Ahmed. He's the Director of General Registration, Dohuk Polytechnic University. And later, after the following is joining forces for impact and sustainability, the network for Kurdish internationalization. Yes, I got it. Uh, and practitioners NKIP 9 plus, also presented by Dr. Barriar from Kiser, and co-vadis internationalizations. So this is the a round table discussion between you can all join the round table later and present and moderator is, excuse me about that, I'm sorry, by Dr. Mos and Dr. Ranj Abdullah from Erbil Polytechnic University. After that, we have conclusion of the conference. So the conclusion will be also presented by Assist Prof. Dr. Kawa Sherwani and Dr. Mus as well. So we have the schedule now, and by the schedule, I'm going to present a short video about international office at Erbil Polytechnic University. Let's watch the video. Okay, and we have a lot of participants and now 139 participants are in the room. And okay, let me stop this sharing. Yes, okay. So this is the video. Okay.
The International Relations Office is one of the significant pillars at Erbil Polytechnic University. This office is regarded as a gate towards the internationalization of the university, raising the quality of the higher education and international ranking of the university. The main purpose of this office is to move the EPU towards a state-of-the-art globalized university.
The main goal of this office is to achieve the internationalization at Erbil Polytechnic University. Now, why it is important? Because the main objective is to enhance the quality of the education, to enhance the quality of the research, to prepare the students for the life and work in the old world as a globalization. This is one of our main objectives. And finally, to enhance the reputation and the visibility of Erbil Polytechnic University.
The office also collaborates with the various national and international universities, institutes, organizations, and consulates. It works on organizing joint international and national events.
Our job in the international office is to have more collaboration with international universities and organizations in Europe. We're also keen on exchanging more staff and students from our universities with universities abroad. In addition to that, we're also in daily contact with embassies and consulates in the Kurdistan region of Iraq for the purpose of facilitating the process of visa and their travel. Currently, we're working on organizing an international conference with the Malaysian University for the purpose of bringing more experts to our region and having more research capacity for the university.
The office strives to establish academic collaboration, international engagement, students and staff's mobility, and to incorporate international and European higher education into our curricula.
The future plan of the international office is to improve the ranking of the university and internationalize the university worldwide. This can be done by a number of joint and collaborative activities, by joining conferences, signing memorandum of understanding with academic institutions and organizations, by exchange of student and staff, as well as obtaining funds to serve the local community and bringing the higher education to our students.
The International Relations Office was established in 2004 as a unit in the Directorate of the Scientific Affairs. In 2018, it was expanded and developed to the International Relations Office through a fund was provided by TIGRIS project.
Okay, great. Thanks for watching, and it's great opportunity for those who are attending for the first time to know about the international offices and Tigris project as well. Okay, dear honorable guests, now we have opening addresses from Dr. Kawa Shirwani, Assist Prof. He's Director of Erbil Polytechnic University. Doctor, sorry about we have muted all of you, so I'm asking to unmute your mic, please. Yes, great.
Okay, shall I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure to welcome university presidents, stakeholders, European partners, the representative of the Ministry of Higher Education, and all the other participants to the concluding conference of TIGRIS project. Actually, we were looking forward to seeing all of you face to face here in Erbil Polytechnic campus. However, this was not possible due to the pandemic. We are lucky to have the alternative platforms that brings us closer to each other. Dear participants, you know that TIGRIS project has been a wonderful opportunity for several universities in Kurdistan region to establish a strategy that supports universities to step forward into international arena. We at Erbil Polytechnic University are grateful to the generous funding by the European Commission Erasmus program that contributed towards developing staff capacity, university structure, and purchase of some equipments. Our partners in this project have worked closely hand in hand to support each other in their goal to build a foundation for the higher education in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. During TIGRIS project, we had the opportunity to send a large number of academic and administrative staff to different partner universities to gain knowledge and skills in a number of fields, including international strategy, project management, proposal writing, paperless office, Bologna process, and many other fields. Through these programs, our staff have acted as TOT by integrating what they have learned to their respected colleagues, departments, and their students. The generous funding resulted in the whole renovation of the international office. You just saw the video, you just watched the video, and the purchase of some equipments. The project has supported the structure of the university towards reforming its strategy and to be able to make steps forward to internationalization. In the past few years, the university has made all its efforts to enhance its collaboration with national and international academic institutions and organizations to improve its ranking and open the doors for the students and staff to a wider world. EPO works tirelessly to obtain funds like this to serve the local community, to enhance students' employability and open the door for its staff to obtain international experience. For example, we are part of the Polytechnic University in reforming technical education and vocational programs. With our counterparts in Suleymaniye Polytechnic University and the Hague Polytechnic University. This year, this is the second year that we are implementing the Bologna process, especially focusing on the programs ECTS, implementing ECTS. We are further involved in the project with many organizations, especially a project with Spark Netherlands to reform English language and AutoCAD and marketing to enhance employability among our graduates. The university is also collaborating with a number of international organizations and universities, such as Edinburgh University, Freiburg University, CMA, Imperial English UK, Europe Research, IREX, and many others. Thankfully, these efforts have not been wasted. EPU rank has improved locally and internationally. The data shows that the university has made a huge jump in its international ranking. It's our aim to continue in this path. Now, I would like to, once again, I would like to warmly welcome all of you to this virtual concluding conference of the TIGRIS project. And I'm hoping we will have a productive and fruitful day. And I'm confident this is the beginning of the journey for our university to be part of the similar projects in the path of internationalization. Finally, I would like to thank the members of the organizing committee for this excellent team spirit and cooperation. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to every one of you who has worked tirelessly to ensure the success of this event. I wish you all a fruitful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kawa Sherwani, Rector of Erbil Polytechnic University. Now we have Dr. Mohammad Hussein Kalari from Ministry of Higher Education. He is the General Director of Quality Assurance at Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research. Doctor, if you kindly just unmute your mic, please. Yes, we can hear you. Yes, please.
Yeah, hello, good morning. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Very nice to see you again, well, this time virtually. First of all, allow me on behalf of myself and on behalf of His Excellency, the Minister, Dr. Adam Muhammad Qadir, the Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research, to congratulate you warmly for holding the third annual dissemination conference, which is hosted by EPU. After holding the first and the second conferences, the first one at Salahuddin University in Erbil 2018, and the second one in Suleymaniye in 2019. Unfortunately, and due to COVID-19, we are not able to meet face-to-face this time to celebrate this important project together, but in spite of that, you insisted to have it virtually and to make us all happy to see you again. Erasmus Plus EU project started in November 9th, 2017 at George August Göttingen University in Germany, in which 8 public universities in Kurdistan region were involved, including Salahuddin University, Suleymani University, Suleymani Polytechnic, Erbil Polytechnic University, The Hague Polytechnic University, Raparin University, Halabja University, and Chermu University. In addition to Kurdistan Institution for Strategic Studies and Scientific Research, plus your partner from the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research. This is from our side, and we also have 5 European partners, including Göttingen University, Masaryk University, Groningen University, where I'm very happy to see Dr. Robert here from Tuning Academic Institution. And also we have KU and Global Impact Institute. TIGRIS project, which ran for 3 years, has been awarded for EU co-funding within the framework of Erasmus Plus program capacity building in the field of higher education. Such a project was mainly used to support the process of internationalization, accessibility, and modernization at almost of higher education institutions. I personally participated in a number of events, workshops, symposiums, conferences of this project here in the region and in Europe as well. In fact, it was a great experience for me to be a part of such activities, and I was able to enrich my information each time about the subjects being discussed and presented. As the Ministry of Higher Education, we highly value what have you done so far in the last 3 years, especially in terms of internationalization process, where all of the parties from Kurdish universities got used to have their own offices in this regard. I also want to talk about Bologna process and the great job done by the organizers of this project earlier this year at Groningen University, Netherlands, and the experience we got back to the universities and to the High Committee of setting the strategies for Bologna process at the ministry where I headed it. I want to thank you personally for that. I don't want to talk too much as I have a lot to say about this project, but I don't want to forget to thank all the people and organizers of this project, starting from drafting the proposal before winning the funding to the steps of implementation of the project. Please let me thank both professors Obamus, the head of Putting in International Office and the coordinator of this project, as well as Professor Dr. Paula Khanaka, who's unfortunately not with us today, who is due to the COVID-19, who is the president of Kurdistan Institution for Strategic Studies and Scientific Research, for all of their efforts, support, and assistance they have given for the success of this project. I would also like to thank my dear colleague, Dr. Kawa Sherwani, president of Erbil Polytechnic University, for organizing this virtual third TIGRIS annual dissemination conference. At the end, I would like to remind you that you will have the full support from our ministry wherever and whenever you need, and our help will be for you all the time. And we promise to continue implementing all the recommendations and suggestions of what have been reached about during the meetings and events run for this purpose. And we strongly encourage you to apply for other projects to continue working with our ministry to achieve our vision and our mission. Unfortunately, today we miss our colleague, Dr. Khattab Shekhani, Director General for Administration and Finance, who has been affected recently by COVID-19, and we wish him a speedy recovery. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all to be safe and healthy and to have very nice time with this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammad from Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research. Now we have Dr. Zana Karim on behalf of Dr. Paula Khanaka from KISR. Kindly, could you just unmute your mic, please, Doctor? Yes.
Hello, everyone. So nice to see you again. Sorry for Professor Paula Khanaka with the serious health issue cannot be attended, and I will on behalf kindly read his speech. Dear university presidents, dear Dr. Khattab, Dr. Mohammad, the General Directors at the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research, dear Dr. Obamus, Director of the International Office at George August University, dear TIGRIS partners, European and Kurdish universities and institutions, dear TIGRIS coordinations team at the George August University, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed my pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to all of you for the third annual dissemination conference of the Erasmus Plus TIGRIS project entitled concluding the TIGRIS project past achievement and future outlook for higher education in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. We are very fortunate that this strategic project, focusing on the critical areas such as developing the internationalization strategies for the Kurdish universities. And the focus of the conference is to summarize the achievement during the past 3 years of this project and look for the future outlook for the higher education and scientific research in Kurdistan region of Iraq. I'd like to extend my sincere appreciation once again to all TIGRIS partners, TIGRIS coordination teams for your presence in the support of this project. We hope this project will be an active support for the innovating and developing of the Kurdish universities. Finally, I'd like to thank the George August University of Göttingen and the TIGRIS project manager, Jacob, coordination team for their continuous support and organizing the 3rd annual conference of the TIGRIS project, and definitely the Erbil Polytechnic University for the hosting of the 3rd annual dissemination conference. Thank you again and wish you a very successful project and conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zana from Kieser. And now we have Dr. Moos. He's the main coordinator of TIGRIS project, and he's talking about on 3 years of TIGRIS. Please kindly welcome. Let's welcome Dr. Moos. Could you kindly just unmute your mic, please?
Yes. Hello, my dear colleagues and friends, both in Kurdistan and Europe. Honorable President Dr. Kawa Sherwani, President of Erbil Polytechnic University, thank you so much for hosting this event. Also to your organizational team, but also to everybody. There are so many familiar faces, friends to be seen on the screen, and I just skipped through, and it's so good to see you again. Of course, as Dr. Kawa already said, it would be much nicer to enjoy your participation and to see you all face to face with a good meal in Kurdistan and good talks and exchange. However, we deal with the situation as it is, and we do our best. And as we see now, who could have imagined a few years ago that you could do such a conference virtually with so many participants from so many different places. So there's always also in things like this a chance, and we'll come back to that also later, to the challenges, but also opportunities that this crisis brought along. So let me try to share the screen. Now, where is my... So I don't know why this now does not work. Well, I don't know exactly why the screen is not full here to be seen, but anyways, let me start. You all know this picture. So this has been taken exactly 3 years ago when we had the kickoff meeting here in Göttingen in the ceremonial hall of the university. I will now go through. I try. Why does it not work here? Yes, it works, but it's not full screen. Anyways, so I will now go through these 3 years, and because there are also a lot of participants who have not followed TIGRIS from the start. So what we aimed at was at 3 different levels, actually, at institutional, national, and international level. We had different goals with the respective activities behind. So at the institutional level, we want to contribute to the modernization of the Kurdish partner higher education institutions by strengthening their management structures and services with regard to international relations and building advanced strategic policies related to internationalization, and thereby aligning the Kurdish partner higher education institutions better with the European higher education area. And at the national level, it was the aim to support the ministry's objective to modernize the Kurdish higher education system and to align it with the European models of practice as well as the Bologna process. And this includes introducing a flexible curriculum design, shifting from a teacher-centered to a student-centered approach, and developing bachelor's and master's programs that both prepare students for the labor market and lay the foundations for the recognition of studies conducted abroad. Basically at the international level, to increase the visibility and attractiveness of higher education institutions in Kurdistan and with the European higher education area, and facilitate their academic and scientific cooperation with higher education institutions and research institutions, both in Europe and worldwide. And of course, we faced quite some challenges during this time. Even when we started, it was the post-ISIS time when there was still trouble in the region. We had economic and political, environmental disturbances, both in Iraq itself, but also in the wider region. And caused by this, we had travel restrictions right from the start when we had the kickoff here in Göttingen for EU partners to come to Europe, but also vice versa when we had the activities in Kurdistan. So that was always not easy in both directions. We had visa problems and it was not so easy, but we managed quite well, I think, after all. And finally, then, who could have known the COVID-19 pandemic hitting right during the implementation of the trainings and internships in work package 3 and 4. So this was all not easy for us to deal with. But starting by analyzing the status quo, as part of the work package 1, we conducted a comprehensive data collection and analysis of the existing, at that time, conditions for internationalization in the Kurdistan region for Iraq and practices at EU higher education institutions. And this resulted in 3 reports totaling 135 pages of analysis and insight, which was a very good basis, basically, for future stuff. In addition, guided by Dr. Uwe Brandenburg from Global Impact Institute, we defined key indicators for the quality of internationalization, higher education in Kurdistan region of Iraq. Implementing a comprehensive training program was also one of the activities we have foreseen, and there are so many things we have done: study visits to the European partners from Kurdistan partners, work package 1, concluding workshop on the implementation of ECTS in Kurdish higher education institutions, workshop on project writing, international marketing, and the use of management information systems for smart administration of internationalization, workshop on the development of internationalization strategies, mobility, and research cooperation, workshop on curricular reforms for internationalization and international classroom, workshop on strategy development, change management, and internationalization of doctoral training, the TIGRIS training on Bologna and ECTS by the Tuning Academy, as already mentioned, training workshop for international relation managers and officers, internships for selected international relation managers and officers. So numerous activities. So looking back, these 3 years were really filled with activities to the benefit of both sides in Kurdistan and Europe. One thing that we have already seen at the beginning in the video intro was one one very tangible goal that we have had, and that was setting up and equipping 9 international relation offices at the partner institutions in Kurdistan. And as we have seen here in the example of Erbil Polytechnic, but we have also visited and seen this happening at all the other partner institutions. This is quite a success. Some had already minor international relations offices, but physically they all have been improved by new equipment, and this was available through the funding that we had from the European Union. Thanks to Brussels again here, but especially to you setting up all these structures at your institutions. We also have 9 institutional strategies for internationalization and many different things. Strategy development is a key thing in this TIGRIS project, and the results of strategy development is that we now have a ministerial strategy targeting 8 key strategic objectives for the internationalization and reform of Kurdish higher education, but also at all the partner institutions, we have 9 institutional strategies for internationalization aiming to enable the internationalization of each of the institutions and thereby enhancing the quality of education research at every institution, which is the foremost goal of internationalization, to improve education and research, and by this then as an effect also improve in rankings and quality and so on. And additional implementation and quality plans for higher education strategies. So further deliverables produced in Work Package 3 by the European partners were based on the quality indicators defined in Work Package 1.4, a self-assessment tool for establishing the level of internationalization of Kurdish higher education institution partners, and related reports by the Global Impact Institute, recommendations on university research project management and talent development by KU Leuven in support of future reforms, summarizing much of the contemporary European, so let's say Western thinking on how to shape research environments, providing dedicated advice for the Kurdish partners, and also pointing to further resources as well as key European Union policies. An action plan for the cooperation with the European higher education area, European research area by the University of Groningen, offering information on the respective higher education area and research area, as well as some hands-on advice on how to set up cooperation with European higher education institutions. So towards the end, we were also dealing with one thing that was supposed to be delivered earlier, but one important thing was the management information system and database, striving to bring innovation to Kurdish higher education institutions, education by developing a management information system and database to administer and manage internationalization. So this goes along with the monitoring, but also has a lot to do with quality assurance also at the end, but also to transparently show what you do in internationalization. Further, a network for the long-term sustainability, ensuring the long-term sustainability of the TIGRIS project and its results by establishing the network of Kurdish internationalization practitioners of all institutions to carry on with collaboration and reforms, to stay in touch, to exchange best practices, to go forward together in the region. So the network is set up to play a key role in the future internationalization of higher education in the Kurdistan region of Iraq, and is open to new members from the Kurdistan region to guarantee a systemic impact. So this was always from the beginning on, that was also why many of the dissemination conferences were open also to further partners and other institutions in Kurdistan region. TIGRIS is not an exclusive club meant to only foster the internationalization of the institution, but also to spread this into the region to all of the other institutions to the benefit of all, basically. So the peer review of Kurdish higher education institutions was conducted online due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the peer review found Kurdish partners having made significant progress in building the structural, procedural, and personal capacities for internationalization of the institutions, which is both a testimonial for the significant efforts and commitment of Kurdish partners in bringing about change, as well as the overall success of the TIGRIS project. So my congratulations on that. So this also went quite well. And at this point also, as Dr. Kawa mentioned at the beginning, there are always these organizing people behind that make this all possible and successful. And let me take the also chance now also to once again for basically all of the conferences, workshops, and numerous activities that we had to thank all people behind, maybe also not participating now in this conference. And ladies and gentlemen, the time didn't allow to mention also all activities and achievements of TIGRIS. We of course had more conferences than I mentioned, like the disseminating conferences where we shared the results and work we did. And also new initiatives among the partners have started, like some projects in the Key Action 107 of the Erasmus Plus line. So there has been more than what we see today. And this is very positive. And once again, I hope and trust to see more fruits that we can harvest from the trees that we planted with and during the TIGRIS project. So that was it from my side. Thank you so much, my dear friends and colleagues, and I hope to stay in touch, but we'll see us, of course, later on in the sessions again. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moose, the main coordinator of TIGRIS project, and thank you very much for the hard work and very detailed presentation. Okay, I would like to, on behalf of the president of Erbil Polytechnic University, Dr. Kawa Shirwani, I would like to welcome Dr. Salah Raza, director of Charmo University. He's sitting next to Dr. Mohammad. Welcome to the closing ceremony, dear Dr. Salah. And dear, I would like to tell that the coordinators, we will unmute your mic. Sorry about that. We just want to avoid the noises. That's why your mic is not able to unmute it. So during the discussion, we will allow your mic to unmute it. And sorry about that. Now we have Dr. Ranj Sirwan. He's the director of international office at Erbil Polytechnic University. My colleague, he's going to present a presentation about the international office. Please, Doctor, unmute your mic. And yeah, you already unmuted. Yes.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's really our privilege to have you all today. And actually, as my colleagues say, that we would be happy to have you all in campus, but unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 and all these issues, we couldn't see you. Actually, I would like to welcome to the all European partners, universities, presidents, colleagues, and all the participants. Actually, we wanted to share some of the achievements that we could do it during the last 2 years, actually, and that's why I wanted to share it with all of you. Of course, as we mentioned at the beginning during the video, that the International Relation Office was established formally in February 2019. and that was a part of the implementation of the fund from the TIGRIS project. Now the international office consisting of 3 units: cultural relations, hospitality and delegations unit, and grant and funding raising unit. Of course, previously the international unit, or the international relation units, was belonged to the vice president for scientific affairs and higher education, but since 2018 the structure of the university also updated, and now the international relation office is directly connect to the rector of the university. Actually, the strategy of the and the policy of the International Relation Office at Erbil Polytechnic University, we can just go through it very fast. It is to enhancing the international research and publication, and now we have many MOUs, signed MOU with some research centers in Europe to develop this issue. Then we implementing the ECTS, and of course EPU implement the ECTS, and really this is very important for the internationalization, especially when we are talking about the mobility of the students. Of course, hosting joint international conferences and workshops, and then also another important strategy or policy, or a point that we now work on it, is to introducing the accreditation system for facilitating the international mobility program. Again, now we are working on this accreditation process. Of course, during the previous time, APU signed many MOUs with different, with many international and national universities, also with non-academic institutions. And of course, our strategy or job at international office is to applying for fund grants and to get it. So right now, the international office, this is the structure of the international office. We have mainly, as we mentioned, 3 units, and we have also some great. Actually, I am happy to have such a great team with me, Dr. Salar Othman, Dr. Abdullah, and all my senior staff. They are really great team, and they work very hard during the last 2 years. Of course, this office located in the presidency of the EPU at the presidency of the Erbil Polytechnic University. The office, as you see from the photos, we made a new office with the help of the TIGRIS project. Actually, the office was renovated by the EPU engineering office. All the furniture were bought by the EPU on their own budget, while the other equipment, like the PCs, laptops, and printers, were all bought by the funding which was allocated by TIGRIS project. Right now, we have many. We are all involved in many international programs, and since, as I mentioned, since 2018, we could sign and agreed with many and involved in many programs. One of this program, which is for 3 years, it's the Global Solution Sustainability Challenge Program students. This program is funded by U.S. Department of State, implemented and collaborated with the IREX. Then actually, I would like to show very fast our some of the international activities. We already have one program with it's the student mobility program with the Bielefeld University in Germany. This what happened last year. Then, as I mentioned, this the Global Solution Sustainability Challenge program. And also this year, at the beginning of this year, we could have here in Kurdistan a joint international conference with the University of Tun Hussein on Malaysia. Then we have now we are working and we have already signed an MOU with the Joint International Research Program with Europe Research Italy. And now we are working on some proposals. Again, of course, we have an ECTS training program for EPU academic staff with universities in Turkey and Lebanon. And also we have an international curriculum development program funded by Spark. Also, this is signed by during the last year. And we are continue working on the summer exchange program with the Arab universities in collaboration with the Association of Arab Universities. Of course, this program was already started since 4 or 5 years, but we continue and we are working to develop and make it more wide. Also, we are very happy to have another collaboration with the Imperial English UK College, and this will be developing the English language curriculum, and we will try this year to implement it in the first stage for all the students at the level of the college. And one of our output or one of the strategy is to serve the community. So we are working with some bodies from France, and we are working on the lifelong learning project for displaced people. This is also, we are hoping to get a fund this year, and we will start the implementation of this project by the next year. Actually, this was all the photos of the last year for some of the students. They came from Egypt, from Palestine, to have the summer internship. And actually, we holding many international workshops, seminar and training during the last year. Especially, it was very active, but unfortunately this year we couldn't, because of the COVID-19, we couldn't continue such activities. This one was the holding the international conference on February this year. And while during the international office, during the COVID-19, actually, we could adapt to critical circumstance to work remotely without impact of the office strategy and the policy. In fact, we could use this period wisely to host a number of international activities virtually by inviting several academics from US and from the European countries. The office has continued in its aim to establish collaboration with various actors via signing agreements, as I mentioned earlier. So this is a part of our daily work, our daily meeting, webinars, when we did with the IREX, with our colleagues from Göttingen. And also we host many webinars, workshops during this period. Finally, I would like to say something that regarding the internationalization and regarding our effort, we got many recommendation notes and also the observation during the last 2 years by our colleagues from the European partners, but we also willing to continue these collaborations and this joint work. However, it's not an easy, and especially we tried sometime to have a joint program or with some universities from Europe, but they are afraid or they are not sure that we are able to implement it. So usually their response is very difficult to accept us or our proposals, but we are willing to work in it, and of course with your support and with the support of this project we can develop ourselves. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you
Yes,
very
Mr.
much.
Ali.
Thank you, Dr. Ranj. If you just kindly just stop your slide, please.
Yes.
Yes, great. Thank you very much. And we are very happy to see that we have 177 participants in this event. And thank you for joining this event. And I would like to tell the lecturers who wants to fill the quality assurance form, we will share the form later. Okay, and now we have Dr. Buryar Hassan from KISR. He is going to present a presentation on TIGRIS in its third year. Please go ahead, Mr. Buryar, if you just kindly just unmute your mic.
I think it's already unmuted.
Great, okay.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the last and let's say third annual conference of TIGRIS project. So today I'm going to talk about the sustainability of the project. How could we provide sustainability after the end of TIGRIS? So I'm going about the provision of, to talk about the provision of the sustainability in this project, and to talk about the network that we have. It's called NKIP +9, and the way of governing the network. We have some network bodies, or let's say network committees. So I'm going to talk about these bodies as well, and the activities related to the network, the financial administration of the network, and the way of expanding the network. So according to the TIGRIS proposal, so we should provide the sustainability after the end of this project. So what we did, we have an interinstitutional agreement. It's called a network of Kurdish internationalization practitioners, NKIP9+. That means we have an agreement between 8 universities, the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research, and KISR as well. So this network provides sustainability, provides the sustainability and keeps the outcome of this project, and it promotes joint collaboration on the internationalization of higher education in Kurdistan region. Also, the aim of this network is to host meetings, workshops, conferences, and raise international visibility of Kurdish higher education and institution. Also, as I said, the network includes 10 partners, the ministry, KISR, and 8 universities. Those universities that are part of TIGRIS project. That means this network, the EU partners is not included in this network, only the Kurdish partners. In terms of managing the network, we have 3 committees, the coordination committee, and we also have management committee and the advisory board, or let's say the advisory committee. These committees are related together, and they have to work together to decide and manage the network. In terms of the coordination board, it includes the president of the universities, I mean the president of 8 universities, the president of KISR, and Dr. Khattab from the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research. This board is responsible for decision making and for annual plans and admitting new members. That means this network could be expanded and we could admit new members. And there is decision in this network according to majority vote, which is 50% plus. In terms of management committees, this committee includes the head of international office. That means each university has one member in the management committee. This committee is responsible for implementing the plans, which is provided by the coordination board. They are responsible for preparation, for organization, as well as implementation. We also have advisory board. This board includes of academic expertise, international expertise, I mean, and each university could have at least one advisor in this board. This is the general structure of the network. I think this is much clearer than the text, which is extracted from KU Leuven. We have input and output. In terms in input, we have ministry, the other universities, including KISR. We also have 2 boards, the coordination board, the management committee, also have the advisory committee. The advisory committee will advise the management committee as well as the coordination board. And there is output of the network, which includes decision-making, annual plans, international activities, raising international visibility. This is the whole structure of the network. In terms of financing, we don't have funds from EU anymore. So this network should be financed by the universities themselves. Also, the ministry will also help us for managing the network. As usual, they always help us for managing our activities and also this network as well. In terms of the current tasks related to the network, so we have some activities that we have to do it this year. We should provide annual work program and financial plan. We should develop a website for the networks that we don't have it yet. We also we should have a journal on internationalization, not a scientific journal, a journal to have papers about internationalization. We should develop the board, which is called advisory board. We don't have that board yet, so we have to select some experts to have this board as well. So in terms of expanding the network, so as I said, based on the approval of the committee, of the coordination committee, any university, public, private, or any research centers, or let's say non-governmental research centers could join the network, but it needs the approval of the steering committee, or let's say of the coordination board. So we need the approval of the university president, and later on any university, any non-partner university from TIGRIS could join this network in the future. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bariyar from KISR. Now we have a speech from Dr. Mohammad Abdullah from She is the director of Halabja University. She is leaving the event, and she wants to just has some words about the TIGRIS project. Please, Dr. Mohammad, if you just unmute your mic. Okay, let me find you, please. I think I have to find you in a picture because I've sent you a private message. Maybe you haven't seen it. Yes, okay. Please unmute your mic, Doctor. Yes.
Ben Tambash, سپاس و ڕێزمان بۆ زانکۆی پۆلیتەکنیک و بەڕێز دکتۆر کاوە شێروانی بەیانی هەموو لایەکتان باش بۆ ڕێزان لە بەروی من هەنێک کارم هەیە ناچارم کەمێک بەجێتان بەڵمە بەڵام دواییەمەوە حەزەکەم سوپاسی تایبەتم بۆ بەڕێوەبەری تایگرس بۆ ستافی تایگرس بۆ سەرجەم ئەو زانکۆیانی کە بەشدار پرۆژەیە لە ڕاستیدا سێ خاڵی کورد خەمەڕووبەوەی من دواتر بێمەولاتان تایگرس پرۆژەیەکی نوعیە بۆی دەرگایەک بەڕووی دەرەوەدا بکرێتەوە زانکۆکان دنیای دەرەوە ببێت بە ئەزمونێک بۆیان لێرەوە سازان خان تەرجەمەیە ئەم وتانەی من وەرەگەڕێتە سەر زمانی ئینگلیزی.
Everyone, thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you, Erbil Polytechnic University, Mr. President of the university, for hosting such an event virtually. I would like to take this opportunity to thank and appreciate TIGRIS staff for such a vital opportunity for all Kurdish partners universities in Kurdistan. And due to some duties, I want to leave for time and will come back later. I want to highlight a number of important points. First, TIGRIS project opens a vital opportunity towards all the universities in Kurdistan. It was to enhance and promote relations between the universities and to work and promote high educations in Kurdistan. And also we worked on two important points, Bologna process and writing international strategies, which was to internationalize and to promote visibility of all Kurdish universities. Thank you.
زۆر سپاسانەکەم دەستخۆشیتان لێ یەکەم بە هیوای ئەوە ئینکە ئەم پرۆژانە بەردەوام بن و کاری پێکەوەی بکەین.
Thank you very much, and I hope we will continue such work initially between partners in Kurdish national and internationally. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammad, Director of Halabja University. Thank you for joining. And now we have Dr. Robert, Prof. Dr. Robert Wagner from Göttingen University. He's going to present a modernizing of higher education sector of Kurdistan region of Iraq in an international context, recruitment, and next steps. So could you kindly just mute your mic? Yeah, just unmute, sorry. Yes. You can unmute it now.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you upload this? Can you upload the presentation?
Yes, you can share it now.
I can't because there's something with my screen.
Jacob, my screen. Yes, great. Okay.
I was phoned and I don't know what happened.
So can you see your presentation now?
No, but I have it in.
But we will see it now.
I can't see it.
Maybe you minimized your slide or the Zoom.
Oh my gosh.
It's fine. We will help you to find it now.
But I lost the screen. That's the problem. also have to reconnect.
Okay, you can try it. So
can I reconnect?
Yes, please.
Yeah, Elsa will just start, but I can't see the screen, so it's sorry.
So, Dr. Robert, shall we switch your presentation with other presentations, and then we will get back to you?
Yeah, please,
You mind?
please.
Yeah. Okay, so great. So now we have Dr. Jamal Ali Omar from Rappaport University. He's the head of English department. Please, Dr. Jamal, if you hear me, just unmute your mic, please. Let me find you, Dr. Jamal. Yes, you can unmute your mic, doctor.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Just let me please open the video as well.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Can you hear me now, please?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ali. Thank you, guys. Thank you, the EU partners, for holding this conference, for this closing conference. Actually, this is the end of the program, but we are not considered to be the end. Actually, it's the beginning of, you know, a very long-term plan to be implemented as a way to reform our universities. Okay, Mausa Ali, I would try to share my screen. Okay, that's it.
Great.
Yeah. So my presentation is about capacity building by translation, supporting Bologna process in the Kurdistan region by translating key literature into Kurdish. I will start my presentation by stating the aim of my presentation. The aim is to shed light on how translation contributes to building capacity and the reforms in the Kurdistan universities. And, you know, for this purpose, I have divided my seminar into 4 parts. Part 1 is capacity building by translation. The second part is supporting higher education reforms in Kurdistan. The third one, translation key literature into Kurdish. And the last one, conclusion. I will start with a capacity building by translation. Well, we all know that translation or translating the keywords into Kurdish will heavily contribute to the capacity building of the Kurdish universities, the staff, and, you know, the experts that will work in future in building the universities and in implementing the long-term plans of changing the programs and, you know, in accordance with what's been stated in the literature, probably those which serve as guides, like the ACTS guide, which was also translated by Rappaport University previously. That was 2 years ago, and copies was sent to all of the Kurdish partners as well. I think that the human capacity, especially in building experts in the field of ACTS, Bologna, and, you know, the different aspects of Bologna process, like the program learning outcomes, the program profiles, creating the program profiles, and the student-centered learning approach, which will only be achieved through deeper, detailed engagement, and this can only be done by translating the key sources. And if they are available in Kurdish, that English is a foreign language, and all of the university staff and faculties may not be quite have a good command of English language. So if they are available in Kurdish, they might have the chance to read these sources and get information as much as they can, which can consequently help in building the long sustainable plan of the university and implementing the Bologna process. The second point about the role of translation is the institutional infrastructure. In fact, these projects and works of translating the key sources into Kurdish will build a kind of infrastructure for the universities to have libraries and minimum sections of their central libraries devoted for the purpose of keeping these translated versions of these key sources, and will be available for anyone who has the interest to read them and go into details and go deeper into the areas of Bologna process and the key terms which are related to this process actually. So I think it will help building a kind of institutional infrastructure for the Kurdish universities by having some translated version of these books on the library shelves in the nearest future. And of course, this can be made a great project funded by some maybe foreign organizations to have groups translating the key sources. We already did one. I will explain it to you how we did it later in my presentation, but I only focus on as a suggestion for our colleagues and partners to form committees in each university starting to translate these sources, which will have very influential, effective impact on the whole implementation of Bologna process in the future. The third point is future sustainability and long-term effectiveness. Well, having these sources, these primary sources translated into Kurdish will keep the whole ideas and constructs of Bologna process implementation alive for the coming and future generation. So this will help having a long-term plan, a long-term effect on the whole university structure in the future. This is why they are very important to be translated and to have copies of all the documents and primary sources. Actually, we need this. We need these for the purpose of sharing the ideas of Bologna process implementation with the other departments who are not, who do not have a good command of English language. I was reading some articles yesterday. I saw a group in Croatia working on translating most of the primary sources of tuning, starting from a guide to formulating degree programs. And you can also find the Spanish, Italian, French versions of these sources on the tuning website. If you just check it, you will have all these translated versions. I hope that one day the Kurdish version of this guide will be available there. So the second part of my presentation is the translation process will help supporting higher education reforms in Kurdistan. I will start by, internationalization of higher education, which we have already started, and we took the initiative, but we need to promote it by having very significant, influential sources available for us in order for our staff and faculties have better knowledge about each of the corners of the Bologna process, and starting with, making programs look like the one which is delivered in the high-ranking universities abroad in Europe, in EU, and in the United States, even in UK. So the process of internationalization can be well supported by having these translated versions available for Kurdish readers. I mean, the faculty and staff in the universities of Kurdistan be read by them and have their reflection on them, and they can have deep understanding of the trends and aspects of Bologna process implementation. The second one is modernization of the degree programs. Of course, having these sources translated into Kurdish will help the Kurdish universities, their staff and faculties have deeper understanding of how to modernize the degree programs. Actually, due to lack of some sort of knowledge about how to update and modernize the degree programs, we are somehow in a situation that we need to follow the updates that can only be done by having these sources available into Kurdish, the way that university is connected with the labor market. We have a lot of traditional departments in our universities that need to be modernized and change it. This can only be done, of course, by having these translated version of these key sources available in the EU and in the Bologna process library and publications. The last one for this slide is changes in higher education structure. Of course, the structure of the programs, even the administrative structure of the degree programs of our universities need to be changed as well. This can also be done by having deeper knowledge and understanding of the Bologna process implementation, publication and sources. To summarize this slide, we can only have these aspects: the internationalization, the modernization, and changing the higher education structure by having good knowledge and understanding of the main sources, which were key and influential to make the EU partner universities be in a good status and high ranking above the world university ranking. So we have to work on this by reading these translated or translating more sources into Kurdish language, and to make them be available in our libraries. With regard to the key literature translated into Kurdish, recently, after the last meeting that was in Netherlands, Groningen University. One of Rapperen University's participants, Dr. Kamal, brought back a few books. In one of our meetings, the Internationalization Committee meeting, the idea of translating these sources formulated, and we started to conduct the project. The translation committee is formed for this purpose, and the outcome is 3 key literature books will be available soon in Kurdish. Now one of them is finished. I can say that around 85% of the work has been done. We are waiting some sort, and unfortunately due to this pandemic, the COVID-19, some of the 1 or 2 translators contracted the virus and they couldn't continue doing this work their work. This is why we had some sort of delay. So we were a little bit disappointed, but we're still working on them hardly to finish them. And as I said, 85% of the work has been carried out, has been done. These books will, the Kurdish version of these books will be available soon. I was supervising the translation of one of them. I think the most significant one, tuning educational structures in Europe, a guide to formulating the program, the degree program profiles, which was a very significant book. It tells us, it has provided many examples on how to form the degree program profiles, which we needed actually. And I have already decided to have or to create this profile for the English department in very soon. I will also advise recommend and advise my colleagues as the head of departments to start writing the degree profiles for their programs. They present a systematic, well-designed appearance for the program, which will be easily read by people from abroad, which will consequently help in internationalization process of their departments. Finally, the conclusion, well, I have arrived at the following conclusions. The first one is translation helps building capacity to support higher education reforms. Well, that's for sure. And I'm sure that most of you will agree with me with this point. Unless we have sufficient Kurdish version copies or Kurdish copies of these key sources, we will never be able to have, a well-prepared, well-developed staff and faculty who can help the initiative which has already been done by the Ministry of Kurdistan Higher Education to do some reforms, especially the structural reforms in our universities. That's for sure. This is something inevitable. We have to have these Kurdish versions of these resources used as guides in order to promote our educational and institutional structure and degree programs. The second one, as I said, the need for sufficient translated version of tuning series and Bologna process sources. Well, as I said before, last night while I was looking for some sources, I found a Japanese version of Introduction to Tuning, which is very important source. We are planning to translate this to Kurdish as well in the future. Last but not least, the Kurdish version of the main sources form the basis for capacity building, institutional infrastructure, and long-term sustainability of our plan to do the reform to our universities. That's all from me. Thanks again, and thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Very much, Dr. Jamal from Rappering University. Thank you very much for your presentation. Let's get back to Dr. Robert. Have you fixed your slides, please? Can you just unmute your mic, please? Yeah, Dr.
Yeah, it's all fine.
Yeah, Dr. Jamal, could you just stop the slides, please? Dr. Jamal? Yes, thank you very much. Jacob, if you kindly just share the slides. Yes, okay.
Okay, perfect.
Right. Yes.
Perfect. So now it works, it seems. Good morning, everybody. In particular, the ministry, of course, representative of the ministry, colleagues of the university, partner universities, and guests. It's a real pleasure for me to offer this note. To give you some background, of course, you can see already that I'm director of the International Tuning Academy, also a member of the Bologna expert team in the Netherlands. For a long time, I was the chair of that team on behalf of the ministry, and I'm a professor at the University of Groningen. I've been involved for a long time in internationalization, and I'm one of the people that actually developed the ECTS system for the European Commission since 1989. So that as a background, and of course, the work we have done in tuning was in close coordination with strong support of the European Commission. And the idea was to implement the Bologna process in Europe and at a later moment also all over the world. The Tuning Academy is now working active in 130 countries, including Japan, as was noticed, but also all other regions in the world. And it has proven to be an important source for educational reform. And we developed it in an institute for research and education. Maybe the next slide. So I would like to reflect a little bit on the situation in Kurdistan, to give some suggestions, although I'm already very impressed by the work that has been done, but there's always room for improvement. So 5 topics, as you can see. Why do we want to reform our higher education programs anyway? Why this international context is so important. And that's why the Bologna process in the European higher education area should give it some attention as a source of inspiration, but also as a reference. I will talk a little bit about the highly ambitious strategic report of the ministry, which is very well required. So it's very good that it's there, but it has challenges. And then I will tell you a little bit about the present situation in the Bologna process. So we will go into the Rome communique, which you might not have seen yet because it's not finished yet, but I will highlight what will be made public in November. And of course, its implications for the Kurdistan region of Iraq. Next one. So education is a very crucial element for offering perspective and prosperity to the population. Because if you have a well-educated population, you have a better and sound model for developing your economy and also for a sustainable society. This is not always understood, that education is so important for future developments. But of course, the younger generations will take the lead in society. That means that the way they are educated, the critical way they are educated, being members of society, is quite crucial. So we need educational programs, and that's why we set up tuning as a response also to the Bologna process, to educate people who actually meet the requirements of the 21st century. And that means, and this is quite a thing, it means that we should make people knowledgeable and skilled, and also allow them to take responsibility. In most, I can assure you, having gone around the world, that in most educational programs, we still focus very much on knowledge acquisition and far less on making people skilled and applicable for their role in society. Next one. So there, for the Bologna commitments, there are actually 10 action points, but the three most important ones are these. They focus on the European setting, but they have global significance. The three-cycle system to organize your education in the most effective way, using ECTS in this respect, but let's say using a credit system in this respect, recognition of periods of studies and diplomas in an international context, but also a national context, and of quality assurance as an element for building trust and confidence. So we are still focusing in Europe after so many years now, because in 99, of course, the Bologna Declaration was published, and we're still working on this agenda, and we haven't finished it yet. Next one. To focus on your agenda, this project, TIGRIS, is of course a very important contribution to make these reforms a reality, taking the international perspective as a point of departure. And it's very good, I dare to say it's essential that you have this internationalization strategy, because if you don't have a strategy, it's very difficult to give guidance to the process. But the ambitions are quite impressive. And I'm not sure that the time frame, having the experience of implementing ECTS, but also tuning, the time frame might not be too ambitious, but still you have to start somewhere and try to get things done as of course as soon as possible. But it requires a systematic step-by-step approach, which involves, and that is very important, the commitment of all. If stakeholders are not committed in the process, if they don't believe in the process, it's very difficult to make change. It requires support, it requires attention, it requires evidencing, and of course also reviewing to keep this process going, but also to improve the process over time. And as I said, this Bologna process and its three key elements are crucial of building trust and confidence in a system, not only for yourself as a region, but also, of course, for the outside world. But again, it's not simple. Having this experience of 130 countries, and most recently, China. Next one. So if we go over the different objectives, they all make sense to stress this point. But internationalization in terms of reform is never a means in itself. It's not a solution. We have to realize that reforms, and that's the case in every country, also in the Bologna process, reforms take place in a national context or in a regional context. But of course, it's important to align them with international standards, because we are in a global society. As a reminder, maybe many of you know this already, the Bologna process has been used by many countries, I dare to say most of them, by making change, by forced change on the stakeholders. Initially, that might be a good strategy, but in the end, of course, crucial for reform is not external pressure, but it's believing in what you're doing. So real ownership that we learned in tuning, real ownership is the key element for making modernization, for reform real. And it really takes an effort of everybody involved. It also requires alignment between the different levels of decision making. Next one. So internationalization of the teaching and administrative staff is a strong contribution. And what we have seen in Eastern Europe, for example, this really has helped. But again, as a point of departure, because if you've noticed already, and you have worked very hard on this, if you don't have an international office, if you don't have the infrastructure, if you don't have the procedures, the process, the instruments, the documentation in place, it's very difficult to get this process going. This is the case for mobility, but it's also the case for internal reforms of your programs. And these reforms are important, of course, to make people employable and to give them a role in the future society in terms of sustainability. So international mobility will help, but you can't do it in a big bang. It has to be built gradually to build up expertise. Because if you've noticed already, it's also very stressful to organize this process. Next one. So increasing the number of students coming in, going out, of course, is crucial, but reciprocity, of course, plays a role in this respect. So that means that you have to develop yourself as an attractive partner for others. This follows more or less from the reform process which you are trying to implement, for example, by implementing ECTS. So you need elements like a course catalog according to ECTS standards, recognition mechanisms, etc., etc. You're aware of this, but you also have found, of course, already in time that this requires quite an effort. But be an attractive partner, and this is a discussion we have, for example, now with China. China sends a lot of students to Europe, but there are far less sent to China. We have hundreds of thousands coming to Europe, but only 60,000 going to China. And the reason is that what China has on offer, what its institutions have on offer, is not sufficiently transparent. It doesn't have a credit system, which doesn't help. And they're still in the process of making their educational programs 21st century sound. Next one. You have the ambition of setting up joint programs, and I'm running one myself already since 2005, and we started already at the end of the last century. I'm running one myself with 8 universities and 4 non-European universities. And it's one of the most complicated elements of internationalization, because you have to make a lot of arrangements which follow more or less this modernization process. So you have to you need a profile, as was stipulated already, and Tuning worked on this, and we have used these materials. You need a clear profile of your program. You need program learning outcomes. You need unit learning outcomes. It has to be very clear, your aims and objectives that have to be developed. Workload has to be, of course, in order. And the most complicated one is reaching alignment with regard to teaching, learning, and assessment in relation to your aims and your learning outcomes. So you can do this for a limited number of programs. It learns you a lot, also internally for other programs, but by definition, it's not mainstream. It's not mainstream in Europe yet. And that's why we set up European universities, for example, to mainstream a little bit more. But the number of programs are still limited. They are heavily subsidized because of all the coordination elements. Again, it's a means, but it's not a solution. Next one. Research, of course, and it has been stipulated by a number of you already, is crucial. But also, we have noticed this again requires a lot of effort. So you have to set priority, as is done in the internationalization strategy. It's very clear that you have to make choices. And you have to focus, I think, on you are doing this already, on your national strengths, because that's easiest to cooperate. Some of your universities already have very strong partners throughout the world. And of course, that is a crucial element for building a network. because you have to build it step by step. And I dare to say this because my university now is a top 100 university. But when this was brought up for the first time by the rector and the president, that they had the ambition to become a top university, we thought they were the laughing stock, because we thought this would not be possible to go that far for a university like the University of Groningen. But if you set a long-term strategy, a clear strategy, you can make tremendous steps. But it also requires a lot of effort. And also, we noticed, requires personal relationships between researchers to build up that network, just as it meant as a warning. So don't give up, work on it, but it takes time. Next one. Strengthening society through internationalization. This is what we have tried to do in tuning, because our strategy has been that universities are there for 3 reasons: to educate people for the fun of being educated, but also to make people employable and to give them a role in society and to build that society, because people in higher education, of course, will be the future leaders of society. So we need critical citizens which are able to reflect, to think, to bring on the agenda. Mobility helps, we have learned, because, as you have stated also in the strategic report, it brings in new ideas, it brings in discussions, it brings reflection. But we also have noticed in a number of countries that there is the fear and the reality of brain drain. So if people don't return, for example, or people don't stay in a particular country, you lose a lot of your investments. So it's required to have a strategy that people indeed return to help building and constructing the society further. This is a problem in every country, and it was one of the reasons why the Bologna process was started anyway. And this because the French in particular, but also the Italians and the Germans were afraid that they will lose students to the United States, to Canada, and to Australia. So they want to make a European higher education area which would be modern, attractive, to not only attract students, but also to avoid that people would go and stay abroad. Next one. The Bologna process and ECTS. Of course, ECTS has now become part of the Bologna process, but ECTS is older than the Bologna process. When we started ECTS, there was a lot of reason in 89, because in 87 we started the Erasmus programs, and we discovered already very soon, the politicians, but also the universities, discovered very soon that you can have mobility, but if recognition is not organized well, if there's not sufficient transparency, if there's no trust and confidence, it won't work, because students lose time because recognition is not taking place. Bologna has given ECTS a new push, and I dare to say that the center of reforms is indeed ECTS. And of course, besides ECTS, because Uwe Brandenburg is there as well, quality assurance. Quality assurance is a crucial element in building that trust and confidence. And from the very start in 89, trust and confidence have been the key words in ECTS, but also are the key words in the Bologna process. And trust, confidence is again used in the Rome communique, as it will be published in November, in particular trust. The Bologna process started in Europe, and it might have been inspirational for other world regions. But we discovered in tuning that this modernization as such is global. We all have to reform, whether you are living in the United States or in Chile or in China or Australia or in Africa. We have a large project in Africa. We have to modernize, and we have to modernize by making substantial changes, which are in practice changing the paradigm of learning. So this paradigm of learning, going from what we call staff-centered or expert-driven education to student-centered education, active education is a rather crucial one. And of course, it's embedded in an internationalization agenda. And internationalization agenda has helped us for sure. Next one. Now, what is the state of affairs in Europe? We have 48 countries which are part of the Bologna process. There will be one new member from Europe, a small European state, added to this 48, so it will be 49 now. What shows the communique? The communique shows that we worked for more than 21 years now, or 21 years now, on the Bologna process. And that there are still differences between countries in terms of the implementation and the speed of implementation. Although it states that major steps have been made, but it took 20 years, which is a long period. And in many countries, still ECTS has still difficulties to be implemented. Not in the original ones, but in the newer states for sure. And it shows again that it takes time to make reform, to embed reforms in practice. So if you look to the communique, you will see that there will be a structure with a number of key elements that will be introduced. There's a vision, a clear vision. We'll come back to this. It focuses on fundamental values such as academic freedom, and there's building the future, having an inclusive European higher education area, an innovative higher education area, and an interconnected higher education area. There are strategies for implementation, and there is some attention to the European higher education area in a global setting. What is important in this communique that there will be 3 annexes, and that's why I've included them as well. One about academic freedom, because there's much concern about academic freedom around the world and also in Europe. The social dimension, inclusion, related to inclusion, has gotten a special element. And we have recommendations for national governmental support actions for enhancements of the higher education, learning and teaching in the higher education area. And that's a crucial document. Next one. So with regard to the vision, what will be stated in the communique, and I'm not allowed to quote literally because as you can see, it's still work in progress. We have now 6 versions, and the 7th version is discussed at the moment between the ministries. But I'm allowed to give this list of key elements in the vision. And the idea is that students, staff, and students can move freely. But that has been one of the foundations of the Bologna process anyway, and should be a global aim anyway. Fully respects the fundamental values of higher education and democracy, a typical European thing, and the rule of law. Be inclusive, innovative, and interconnected, was stated already. Prepare learners to become active, critical, and responsible citizens. And this is the element I already mentioned in terms of the aims and the objectives of the Tuning Academy and the Tuning projects. Meet the United Nations sustainability development goals like climate change, and assure a robust culture of academic and scientific integrity. So the whole document is built on this vision. Next one. So what does it mean for educational reform? It will state that the ministers, and but also the higher education institution in particular, have to search for solutions to the challenges of our society. And what is interesting, and that is the first time, there is special emphasis on social, human, and creative sciences and arts. Because the ministers think, or the universities in general, it's also contributed, that sustainability is not only an economic dimension, but it also has a social, political dimension. Updating the knowledge, skills, and competences. because we have this constant process, of course, but it's interesting that it talks about knowledge, skills, and competences. Flexible and open learning path, student-centered learning, and smaller units of learning. So a little bit is said about micro-credentials and making your system flexible to allow changes that take place into society to allow to take them into account, and also reflect lifelong learning. And of course, by definition, and we are confronted with this now by having this conference in this online format, development further digital skills and competences for all, but also to share in open access the materials that are developed. Next one. Linked to this communique is this annex, and this annex was prepared by ministerial representative of different ministries in different countries, and it comes up with 3 recommendations, which is crucial also in your context. Making student-centered learning a reality, which means that it has to be innovative education, prepare students for the future society, make it student-centered, active learning, flexible learning paths, open education strategies. You already noticed this in what I said before. Fostering future teaching, which is related to the digital agenda, but also related to teaching and content research for improvement. And again, this attractive pathways for career purposes. If you educate everybody in the same way, you will have difficulties finding employment. If people have their individual programs which are built on individual strengths, you have a far better perspective. So flexibility in programs, having minors, electives, windows is a crucial element. And again, support staff, support teaching and learning, staff training, staff development, in a national, but also an international context, or in your case, regional context. So we have to keep on developing teaching and learning strategies to make this a reality. And this is the most complicated thing, because you can set learning outcomes, but how to implement these in teaching, learning, and assessment is quite a different chapter, as we have learned already. Next one. So, what is the effect on your agenda? Of course, the Bologna and the European Higher Education Area process is agenda setting, but it's not revolutionary. It's linked to 20 years of experience that has been built up gradually. It offers guidance for countries. It's maybe an incentive for reform, but you don't need, of course, communicate to make the reforms for yourself. But because it gives elements which are crucial, of course, it's an important agenda, also with regard to Rome, besides the Bologna process in general. The elements that are brought up are not limited to Europe. They are, as I said before, they are of global significance. They are as relevant for other parts in the world than they are for Europe. And they all intend, and that was the original idea of Bologna anyway, to boost the economic and societal welfare, which is a national interest in an international setting. In the end, you're doing it for yourself to make a better society. But what have we learned from this process? That alignment between governmental action and higher education investments is of crucial importance. If that alignment is not working well, and in some countries in Europe it's not working sufficiently well, you make very slow progress. So it's very good that the ministry has a strategy. It's very good that the higher education institutions are expected to respond to this and to do their own efforts. But this alignment between these different levels is key. Next one. So my advice is focus in particular on what you need, what is required for your region to to contribute to the welfare of society and make use of the outside world. Take international initiatives like the Bologna process as a reference for reform. Indeed, accommodate legislation as is already in process to facilitate these reforms. And I dare to say this because in many countries we still have obstacles. After 20 years of Bologna, in the Bologna setting, you see still obstacles in making reforms a reality, make flexible programs a reality. And financial incentives, whether they come from the European Union or they come from other sources, is very important. People will set up actions, will start taking initiative if there's a reward. And the reward, of course, is making the programs better, but you need support for making them a reality. Next one. With regard to the higher education institutions, you are very much aware of this. The change of paradigm, which was introduced at the beginning of the process and stipulated very much by tuning, and that's why the tuning materials are so helpful, and that's why tuning is so popular with the European Commission. This change of paradigm has to take place. If this reform doesn't take place, your educational system will be out of date very, very soon, and it will not help to develop your society further. What is crucial, what we discovered a long time ago, but was only mentioned explicitly in the Paris Communiqué, is staff development. The problem with our academic staff is that they are, wait a minute. Sorry. There we go again. The problem with staff development is that people in academic staffs have not been educated to be good teachers normally. They are educated to become researchers, but around the world, they have not been educated as teachers in an academic setting. That's why staff development is so crucial, and staff development programs are so crucial. Because to make this change of paradigm, to move to student-centered education, to align teaching, learning, and assessment to this approach requires deep discussions with colleagues and also a deep understanding. But there's a lot of material available which can be of help. And that's why it's very important, and I'm very happy that so many documents are translated in Kurdish. Because that's another challenge we have seen. Most of the materials are produced in English. But for a French context or German context or Spanish context or Kurdish context or Chinese context or Japanese context, is not helpful. So having these translations is the key for success. It's the key for developing ownership. So indeed, make use of these materials, and I'm very happy that also the ECTS Users Guide has been translated into Kurdish. Another element which is still under development in many European countries, and some are doing better than others, we have found out in a recent project, is work-based learning. Even if you are a research-driven university like mine, it's very, very good to have placements in those programs, to link up to what's really happening in society, and to bring in the expertise of society, of employers, employees back into university, and to bridge already before people graduate the understanding of what's happening in society. What we learned that if you have a system of placement, it's much easier to find employment. But also you learn much more to use your skills and your knowledge in practice. And placements, for example, are an important element. Also, entrepreneurship can be developed in this context, but maybe that's another topic. Next one. So, what is recommended for all? Create an infrastructure on regional level and the level of individual higher education institutions. Align the different levels. Invest in efficiency, not in the length of studies. I still see studies who are far too long, and they are focusing on knowledge acquisition and knowledge transfer, well, it's very crucial that students practice in learning. They probably learn more, and you can't learn everything in the 21st century anyway.
Sorry, doctor, for interrupting. You only have 2 minutes. Okay.
But I'm nearly ready. This is my last slide.
Thank you very much. That's great.
Okay. So create a reliable quality assurance system. Implement the ECTS system as you are doing already. Make use of the new elements we developed in Kalari, and you'll see a reference later. It's built on what we did in tuning. Allocate credits in a fair way, and indeed move to student-centered education and accommodate teaching, learning, and assessment to this new paradigm. Next one. You have set important steps as a conclusion, as the TIGRIS project shows, but I can assure you, on the basis of my 30 years of experience, you're not there yet, not because it's you, but because no country is there yet in implementing all the reforms. So you have started the discourse, you have taken a lot of initiatives, but of course there is still not, and there can't be full implementation. Next slide. Here are some of the publications that might be of use for you to build this development further. Next slide, you will see some websites in which you can find the information that I've tried to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And now we have Dr. Nawzat Ahmed from Erbil Polytechnic University. He's going to present a presentation in 15 minutes. Dr. Nawzat, you can unmute your mic and please share, you can present your presentation now.
Okay, hi everyone. So first of all, it's good to see so many nice faces in this important day for the TIGRIS project. Also, I want to extend special thanks to Dr. Vamouz, Jacob, Laura for their efforts and supports and help to finish this project as well. I also extend my special thanks to Dr. Kawa and the team who's holding an organizing this event ceremony. So I'm going to share this presentation with you all in order to know what has been done for the management information system regarding the internationalization activities of higher education in Kurdistan region. So here I'm going to introduce the introduction. So as part of the project, TIGRIS consortium was tasked to develop and implement a management information system and database which supports TIGRIS partners, higher education institutes, as well as the Ministry of Higher Education in collecting, managing, and visualizing information on internationalization of higher education in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. After issuing a request for proposal and conducting public tender, the contract was awarded to Erbil-based development firm Parties Company. So the system has been developed, is a distributed server-based software solution for continuously collecting, managing, and visualizing data on internationalization and related activities by higher education institutes in Kurdistan region. Currently, those 9 has been already involved in this project for working on the management information system. Also, this system can be allowed to be at additional higher education institute in Kurdistan region in future. So the structure of the management information system is, as we said before, is distributed system. So each university can has its own local management information system, including website and the database. So they can working locally in the university
and globally with the global management information system can see others data as a viewing, like data virtualization, in order to support their, which is meaning decision making. And the Ministry of Higher Education can access to all these activities in global management information system. So the data included in this system is not limited to contractual relation to international partner organization, which is meaning memorandum of understanding, because it's comprises both qualitative and quantitative data, the flow of international students and staff mobilities, joint international programs, projects, and other activities related to internationalization, like international conference, as well as other predefined indicators to measure internationalization of higher education in Kurdistan region of Iraq. So the data is collected at each higher education, which is meaning each local partner, using local servers and serves to monitor and strategically manage the internationalization efforts of their institutes. Sorry. So the benefits of management information system is efficient as a support tool for managing and decision making at institute level. It enables Kurdish Iraqi Partners Institute to monitor the international process both at the institutional and regional levels. For the latter, which is meaning monitoring at the regional level, the Ministry of Higher Education in Kurdistan region can also access to the data to acquire a systemic overview on the internationalization activities of all higher education institutes that participated in this system. Each institute partner can get benefit from others through sharing their practice regarding the internationalization activities. Also, awarding the contract to a local company facilitates the future development of the system and enables local troubleshooting directly in-house. So the management information system encourages and promotes collaboration among the higher education institutes and the ministry in Kurdistan region. Having set up a joint management information system greatly enhances the long-term sustainability of this result of the TIGRIS project, since partners will continue to develop the system while lowering the overall cost of sustaining it. For future needs, so this system can be extended by adding respective modules, expandability, which is meaning this within the network of the Kurdistan international practitioners, which is NKIP 9+, a dedicated work group for future development of the management information system would be set up. This was the benefits from this management information system. So the status of delivery of this system. So the development of the management information system has been completed by Patrice Company under the auspices of KSER. The development contract involved 2 years of free support maintenance and help desk. The training course for using this system has been successfully implemented with selected staff from all local partners having participated in the training. The interface of this system is available in both language, Kurdish and English language, and others can be added easily. So you can visit these two links just for to know how the system is running. So this is the main interface, how is the Ministry of Higher Education see, and how the other partners can see this main homepage in order to see all activities visualization virtually. Here we have like yearly income students in Kurdistan is it's shown that from where and the numbers of these students and the partners in this system. So when you click on the one of them, you can see the, which is meaning the related information to each one as you're visualizing these data, you can see the diagrams related to administrative stuff or which is meaning mobility programs, door programs, other activities related to internationalization. For the login for each university or each institute can log in like this by having username and password, and you can have this dashboard in order to work on it by having mobility program, offer program, door program. In the left side, you can see memorandum of understanding, international activities, general reports, anything else is related to the administrator and the users who's working in each institute. And you can see the, which is meaning visualizing these data by this dashboard, and you can see all activities of your institute. And from the another side, which is meaning the global one, you can see your activities with others. You can compare and share. It depends. As we said, there are many benefits from this management information system. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nawzat from Dohuk Polytechnic University. Thanks for the presentation. Dear guests, now we have a roundtable discussion runs by Dr. Mose and Dr. Ranch. So you can all join the conversation, the discussion, and I'm going to unmute all of you, and you can have a chat and you can have a discussion. And please, if you want to join the discussion, just raise your hand. They will give you time, and we will give you time to have a discussion about the presentations that already presented in the previous presentations. Okay, so now I'm going to enable all of you to unmute yourself, and you can please, Dr. Ranj and Dr. Mose, you can start the discussion, please.
Yes, so maybe the best would be to please just put in to the chat your name, and then I would allow you to ask your question to whomever. I'm not quite sure. I don't see him in the screen, but I guess Robert Wachener is also still around, because he may be also one of the people that receive a question, because he is really one of the leading experts on international higher education.
Dr. Mose, I'm sorry, just I wanted to give a clear clarification. Please, can you mute? Yes.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, Dr. I muted all. I muted all the participants. I'm going to mute them. Okay, just give me time. So that was noisy.
El segundo elemento son los automatismos. Son los encargados de abrir y cerrar el agua. Eso se consigue mediante una electroválvula conectada a un programador. Después de los automatismos, una serie de tuberías nos mandaron el riego a los distintos.
Okay, so everyone is muted now. Sorry about that. And I just want to give access. So maybe the participants didn't know that they can unmute themselves. So now I should go for plan B. So please just send a chat if you want to have something in this discussion. So please, Dr. Mose and Dr. Ranj, you can unmute yourself again, please. And if someone wants to say something, just raise your hand or you can send a chat, okay?
Yes, so Uwe is giving the word to Uwe.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Mose, may I just give a short clarification regarding the timetable, and because of this kind of logistic issue, that's why we escape the question and answer for Prof. Robert at that time. we want to make it in one package. So that's why we appreciate all of you to understanding this issue. And I would like I know it is a very difficult to control by Dr. Ali about that. I think you already have an Excel sheet for all the focal points. So we can, once who will raise his hand, we can unmute, okay, to give him the right to ask, okay? Yeah. So maybe it will need a little bit time and more effort, but we will try our best since we have we have a time for that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Dr. I think Dr. Mus wants to say that let's ask Dr. Ove to join the conversation. Please, so Dr. Ove, you are enabled to talk now and your mic is unmuted, please.
Yeah, thank you. Now, first of all, just thank you very much for the really interesting morning already. And I just wanted, first of all, I just wanted to say that it was a marvelous experience. And I think all the Kurdish partners did a really marvelous job. It was really hard, and I know I'm not the easiest one to work with. I sometimes was probably a little bit difficult, but I think in the end, it's really a very good result. One point I wanted to stress is nicely throughout the project, it became clear that the Kurdish universities are very interested, also what my colleague Vahana said, in the relation to society. And actually, this will be one of the crucial topics in the next years in internationalization, how we can relate our internationalization to social engagement. And I think that will be something that you are very well equipped to focus on. And I just wanted to use, I put it in the chat now, I just wanted to use the opportunity because Uwe 1 will also be there, I'm Uwe 2, okay. There will be a conference on this by the end of November. And due to our sponsors, it's completely free. So everybody who is here is very happy, very welcome to join us in the conference. Uwe will be also there presenting the case of Göttingen. And it's a very good opportunity to learn about how to engage with society through internationalization. Because I think this is really one of the strengths in the Kurdish internationalization process, where you can also gain a sort of a USP if you engage in that stronger than other regions in the world. And otherwise, just thank you very much again, specifically, of course, to the coordinators, but also to all the Kurdish partners for the patience and the strong work you invested in this project. Thank you.
Since there is obviously nobody asking at the moment, I would like to take the opportunity. A couple of the speakers mentioned already the link to the society, the role of higher education institutions in contributing to society and in various aspects, and also to the labor market. We also see it in Europe that the European Commission also in what the program lines are is putting a lot of attention to society, but also economic development. And now coming back to the local role of higher education institutions, and that would be a question to our Kurdish partner institutions. Do you involve your alumni in your strategic activities? So and vice versa. So what are you expecting from your alumni, and what are the alumni maybe are expecting from you as an institution? Because this might be a very helpful a group of people you could tap on and also recruit for your purposes and for your aims. And it was not so much mentioned today, the role of alumni in the activities, and this could be one aspect that is maybe already there, these activities, but maybe not mentioned. So are there examples or best practices that you would share where you involve the alumni already? And this could be both, I mean, domestic, but also, of course, especially international.
Yes, he wants, who's talking? Maybe I can help to unmute the mic. Dr. Moose? Yeah, can you unmute your mic, please? We don't hear you. Dr. Moose, please. Just unmute your mic, please. Yes, okay. Yes, did you point your question to someone or?
No, it was just to all Kurdish partners. If there's maybe one of the partners or one example where you already involve alumni in your activities in internationalization. So where you maybe already have an alumni community or maybe individual contacts that you make use of to flank international activities in one or the other way.
So yes, we have two doctors. They raised their hand. Before that, I would like to tell you that Dr. Mohammad has to leave the event because due to having a meeting with His Excellency Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research. So he apologized for that. And let's ask Mr. Dr. Ranj. You raised your hand. You want to join the conversation, or Dr. Tuana? So you can both can unmute your mic and join the conversation.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ali. Actually, I cannot. I mean, once if I muted, I cannot back again. So I cannot moderate it. Yeah,
you have seen the situation, so I cannot unmute all of you.
Yeah, so I cannot moderate it with Dr. Moose. So I will not mute it again. I will try to be very quiet. Actually, Dr. Moose, Dr. Tuana, maybe he has a question, or maybe he's going to answer you. But from our side as EPU, actually the Career Development Center, the CDC, usually in our university, they are responsible to this part, okay, to find a job or to find the opportunity. And we are working with the CDC. We have some example that, especially from the student of this year, where they just finished their study, we could involve them in such project. And we have this good example of the Bielefeld University. He was the student at the last year, and he continued the project when he just graduated. So we have some small starting, but of course we need more plan, and we need maybe we need a very active CDC department to help us in this process. Thank you.
Great. So let's see who's.
Dr. Tuana, I think he raised his hand if he can join us.
I've sent him a message. And okay, who else want to join the conversation, the discussions?
Yes, okay. Dr. Peshtiwan Mohammad from Cherbo.
Hello, everyone. First, apologies, I cannot turn on my video. I've been trying since the beginning of today, but it seems there's some technical issue. And thanks very much for everyone engaged in this concluding conference. Regarding the question, how do we engage the alumni? As a matter of fact, as a graduate of Brunel University in London, we use it to engage all the alumni to contribute and give back to the institute where they have graduated. But now in Kurdistan, it seems that this has not become a tradition to invite or re-engage all those alumni who are graduating from the university. I think is one of the really important thing that we can address from now on and work on them, how to create a network in which all the alumni can give back. For example, sometimes some of them, they held important position in the government, in the NGO, in the other sectors outside the university once they graduate. But for us, for each Kurdish partner university, it's really important that we create such a network by keeping in touch with our alumni, inviting them, whether it's through online or offline, whether it's through formal invitation, whether, as Dr. Rand said, through career development centers, because in the UK, there's a tradition that people give back to the university. Like after 20, 30 years of graduating from a university, people donate and to support students who are financially struggling, or to support research papers that are really important for the work of the alumni. So I think there is a huge opportunity where Kurdish universities, all of them together, they have a database to record and register all the alumni graduating from each university, and from time to time give them an opportunity whether to visit or give back to the university and be more actively engaged with the university they have graduated. And that's just my point. And thank you very much for listening.
Yes, I think Dr. Mohammad Aziz wants to join the conversation. Please, Doctor, just unmute your mic, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to express my deep appreciation and Salahuddin University's acknowledgement to Dr. Moose, Mr. Jacob, and Laura for their great support and bringing this valuable TIGRIS project to Kurdistan region. Salahuddin University benefited a lot from this. And we did start internationalization of the university, permitted us and learned us how to communicate with European universities in particular, and all over the world universities in general. Concerning the alumni, our alumni, they are very limited in communication, but staff, the staff mobility, yes, we did learn a lot. During next March, the month of March 2021, 4 Salahuddin University staff will visit Masaryk University on Erasmus Plus KA1 project, which is also a part of international communication and international relations, internationalization of the universities. And one of our alumni will join Wageningen University in the Netherlands to study master degree in the field of irrigation management and food security, and fully funded by Orange Knowledge Program of the Netherlands, which is also a part of internationalizing Salahuddin University and communicating with international universities. So once again, thank you very much, Göttingen University, indeed, for this valuable project you brought us. And everybody will continue in future the ambitious very much for everybody in this field. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question from Jacob to Dr. Wagner. Dr. Robert, you have got a question. Can you see the question from the chat? Yeah, please unmute your mic, please.
Yeah, okay. It took time to unmute. Yeah, I've seen the question, and I think it's a very important question. And to give you some background, we did research in Europe about the implementation of the student-centered approach, and outcome-based approach. And we noticed throughout Europe that there were pockets of great successes, but as a whole, it was problematic. And the reason was that staff was not trained. So this proposal of having a national center, training center for staff, is a very good one. It has been set up in the UK, in England in particular, also in Scotland, and it worked very, very well. So it's one of the countries that have been most successful making this paradigm change. We have tried to set it up in the Netherlands. That was not a success because universities wanted to do it themselves. But as a result, we have developed an analysis structure where you now need a license to be a teacher in higher education. So it's comparable to what is proposed here. If you don't inform people, if you don't train people to take up these new responsibilities, like Uwe said, reaching out to society, preparing best for employability, you will be hindered. There will be tremendous obstacles because people, staff, both supporting staff and academic staff, they are not able to develop this themselves. So they need a context in which they actually develop this. So I think it's an excellent proposal if it's possible to implement. An initial question. According to your estimate, what duration could Kurdish higher education plan for full implementation of ECTS? This is a very difficult question because some countries took 20 years. But if you do it seriously and with all the materials in place, of course you can do it. You can do it in a much more shorter time. There is a difference between setting up the structures, allocate credits to courses, for example, define your courses in terms of learning outcomes, making profiles, as was said before. This, of course, can all be done in a reasonable short time. Getting ownership of the individual teachers will take more, and this will take experience. But as such, yeah, within a couple of years, you can, if there's real will, it can be done quite well, I think.
Great. Someone raised their hand, and I think it was Dr. Najat. Yeah, it disappeared. Okay, so you can continue if you want, if you wish. Yes, Dr. Najat, you can unmute your mic, please.
Good day for all of you. Are you hearing me? My voice is clear.
Yes.
Thanks for all of you, starting from the third tower to all the people that make this conference. I want to focus, as Mr. Jacob said in his presentation, the focus is on the teacher or the lecturer. Why? Because the lecturer is the heart of the education process. Most of the lecturers have not the minimum standard skills for guiding the students and the education process. Why we will not start with the basic and principles of the standard skills? It's not changed. Why did we start from this and upgrade or develop the level of our lecturers? The journey of the 1,000 meal start with the first meal. So creating a center, okay, and guiding with a good plan, depending of what we have, our environment, what we can provide. Starting is a good idea, even if it is not optimal or not perfect. So I focus on this point. I think we can get a good aim and goal and do it. So what's your plan? If you have a plan, what's your plan? What's your schedule to improve and develop the staff starting from zero? Why not? Thank you.
So, Dr. Ranj, did you
Yes.
question?
Yeah, actually, I think Dr. Najat, she asked about the staff development, and as you know that one of the points that we mentioned about the staff mobility, about the staff development, so the internationalization and also I think the ECTS, both of them, they will have a very good contribution on that issue. Also, I would like to mention that at EPU, since the last year, we sent more than 120 academic staff. We started with the head of departments, and we started with the some figures that we need them at the first or at the beginning to get this kind of training and capacity building, because when they will back, they have to also training the other academic staff. Of course, this is a part of the EPU strategic plan. Also, when we mention to the international activity, like the conferences, like the joint research, all these will affect on the development of the academic staff. But if you mean that you wanted to develop your skills in learning and teaching, yeah, this is also, we can also focus on this. However, I'm sure that the EPU, they already do such training during the previous time. And I think, Mr. Ali, you can also add some points regarding the pedagogy learning center that the EPU, and with the help of the Ministry of the Higher Education, they recently established. And I think that one will really improve the skills of the learning and teaching for the academic staff. Also, I would like to give the permission to Dr. Najib, since he is the Vice President for the University for the Scientific Affairs. I think he can also add some points to these questions, since he is more involved in such scientific activities and which is related to the policy of the Erbil Polytechnic University. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Ali, Dr. Ali, if you can give the...
Yes, Dr. Najib, would you like to join the discussion, please? I'm going to unmute your mic. Please just accept yes. Okay.
Thank you very much. I have nothing to say, but actually, you know, all of the staff knows that EPU conducted many workshops and seminars to develop the staff skills, especially on implementing the Bologna process during the past 2 years. And regarding the internationalization, EPU enhancing teachers to go abroad and conduct conferences, scientific conferences, and do research here locally and joint researches abroad. We enhance and encourage our staff in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Najib. You have been involved with this project from the beginning, and you have done a lot of works. Thank you very much, Dr. Najib.
Thank you.
Yes, we have some questions from our partners and guests, and let's start from Jacob's question, and also Dr. Pashtiwan Mohammad. If you just kindly just have a look of the chat, and they pointing question to specific coordinators. So just have a look, and you can discuss about the questions and answer the questions.
I think Ova Brandborg want to ask question. Yes, please. I'm sorry. Can you just give the permission
to Ov? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
yes, because there was, thank you, there was the question regarding COVID and what to do. Well, Jakob, as you know, if there would be a golden solution, yeah, we would all have it. And I'm sitting now in one of the countries which just faced a huge increase, the Czech Republic. But basically, I think it's more about, I would differentiate. On the one side, there is, of course, the challenge. That's clear. You know, how do you deal with education right now? How you can use it online? Where I think that the main thing is to simply exchange information and just have a look how others are always doing it and what can be done better. Because one thing is for sure, the students were patient more or less in spring. And they took up with, let's say, very sketchy and sometimes appallingly bad online education. But that will change for winter. So now people are expecting that universities have changed a lot, and a lot has happened across the world. So I think the biggest problem is that every university is somehow dealing with it on its own. And that is not clever. So I think to exchange simply only good practices, to say these were things we did that worked well. What did you do which worked well? And I think nobody has the golden idea here. And really, it is one of the huge advantages also for universities outside the normal circle of the considered, you know, elite universities who came up with much better ideas than the standard top universities. That's one side. I would see the other side. COVID is also a huge opportunity. You know, we humans only change under stress and external pressure. You know, if there is no pressure, we don't do anything. Yeah, we just remain where we are. That's habits, that is easy to do, that doesn't stress us out, so we don't change. Now, COVID forces us to change perspective, and I would rather take that as a huge opportunity, and especially also for Kurdistan. We discussed in the past quite often how difficult it is to motivate people to simply come to the region, you know? Besides, you know, if you have travel registry limitations, which is also existent for countries, it's often simply, it's very difficult for many regions to get people to come to them, yeah, for whatever kind of reasons. Everybody wants to go to Los Angeles and they have no idea why, yeah? So I think the change in COVID is a huge opportunity, because we've seen that for people, suddenly it matters how governments deal with COVID. That makes a decision where you want to study and if you want to study somewhere. So in the end, it's back to society in a certain way. If you help your local community and the government to deal better with COVID through information that you have that others don't have, and if you make just known that you are quite advanced in the online teaching, and you don't charge, like Berkeley or something, $30,000 for an online class, sitting at home, you know, listening to a professor. maybe COVID is a huge opportunity for your internationalization rather than a huge limitation. That's what I would like to contribute on that one.
Maybe I could add a little bit from the German perspective. So after COVID-19, the pandemic started. Meanwhile, German Academic Exchange Service, but also the European Union put a lot of money into programs for advanced virtual cooperation. So basically parts of the curriculum, but in one program line, even the full curriculum in double degrees or joint degrees. This is also an aspect in the European University Initiative in our project, where Groningen is also a partner in this European University context. So I think there will be a lot of activities and initiatives. We also then, of course, touch upon recognition issues again, but in this virtual cooperation with partners abroad. And then, Uwe, you're absolutely right. Regardless whether for economic or health reasons, maybe mobility is physically not possible, this virtual cooperation can take place. But then you need a good solid IT infrastructure. And you also have a heavy involvement of the study affairs department, usually at your university. So this is one of the examples where you really need a good setting, an international setting at the universities, where it's not only in the international office. We often talk about this, do you need a strong international office? This is a very good example that you at the same time need a good IT infrastructure, but also a good study affairs department, which is innovative and which sets the rules and the legislation for joint double degrees. But again, as Uwe said, this is also an opportunity for these things to develop maybe only short, maybe micro credentials, but even sometimes a whole semester or even a study program jointly in this virtual format. So there are also opportunities. And getting back to the question, this is one thing that at least Germany, but also other countries now foster to overcome this. But again, it's also useful for any other pandemic situation that we would maybe have in the future, or other restrictions for travel. So then you can skip into this virtual cooperation.
Yeah, I would like to follow up on this, to address the question also to Professor Wagner, because you're very close to the European institutions. What kind of measures or ideas does the European Union or the members of the higher education area have in addressing COVID? And I mean, it's surely affecting the Bologna area with with students going to different countries in a very very effective way.
Mr. Dr. Abdullah, Dr. Ali, can you please give the permission
to who? Sorry,
to
Dr. Abdullah.
To Dr. of Bargen. Yes, where is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Dr. Ove, you want to join the conversation? Sorry, to the Prof. Wagner, sorry. Misunderstood. Okay. Dr. Robert, you can unmute.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute. Sorry. And I think I can give an indication. First of all, the European Commission launched a special call for strategic alliances for COVID-19. And the deadline is at the end of the month. And the idea of this call is that universities are going to collect best practices and best ways forward to deal with COVID-19 in general. And these projects will already start very soon, as soon as possible. So that's one indication. It's still possible to have mobility in the setting of, for example, placements, but also mobility, if it's allowed by countries. But of course, that has become a challenge. So the situation has not improved during the last weeks, because in most countries now it's more problematic than it was a couple of weeks ago. But there's one element, maybe you're aware of this, but there will not be a call for capacity building projects this year, and there will also not be a call for KA 107 this year. This has nothing to do with COVID, with the COVID project, with the COVID situation, pandemic, but has everything to do with the restructuring of the budget of the European Commission. So the calls for all the other projects will be there, but not for internationalization outside Europe, because it's paid for by another DG, which is not ready to make these amounts available. The amounts are reserved, they will be used 1 year later, but for the moment, they will not be implemented as a project. So your project will not be approved this year because there would not be a call. Of course, there's a lot of awareness, and there's also a lot of challenge also within the European scene to make the most out of the situation. But what I noticed, although I agree with Uwe and also with Dr. Moos, that of course you can use the opportunity. What I see throughout Europe is a lot of complaints among students, but also about staff, that this is not a good alternative for normal, regular learning. What I expect will happen in the future, and I think experts agree with me here, is that blended learning as such, so having the combination of contact, face-to-face contact, and online learning will not go away anymore. So because also employers have discovered, of course, that this is probably a very handy way of organizing labor. And we are not preparing for this at the moment in universities. So in the coming years, I suppose this will be developed further than originally was foreseen, and also faster than it was originally foreseen in the past. But missing contact, missing social environments, in particular for developing skills, the screen is not an alternative. So we can do a lot, and also in my project, we do a lot in project work using online means, but it's not a good alternative for reality. So the only hope is that in spring, medication has been found to go back to a more normal situation, although it will not be as normal as it was in the past. So this situation that has developed now will have its effect on the future. With regard to the funds available from Europe, Europe thinks a lot about it. Also European universities think a lot about it, but nobody really has found the answer yet. And we are in a situation where we have excellent online facilities, but they also deal with, for example, the Philippines, and there is no infrastructure. So it depends on the countries whether you have an infrastructure to do it this way. So that was one question. There are many more I've noticed. One question is related to setting up a group, an expert group or working group related to reform. I call it a Bologna follow-up group or whatever you call it. We have done this in the Netherlands, and I dare to say, because we have this unit, this working group, together with the ministry, organized by the ministry, the Netherlands have been one of the most successful countries implementing the Bologna process, because there was strong alignment between universities and other stakeholders, also employers, employee organizations, and the ministry about reform. And it actually worked. It worked very effectively. So my advice would be, if that group doesn't exist yet, to set it up, to organize the reforms, and also base it on an internationalization strategy that has been defined already. So I think it's a very good proposal. With regard to another question, with regard to, because I have the floor anyway at the moment, With regard to aligning to society, what we have done during the last years, and that's not by accident, we have tried to set up a new project, Kalari, and I can send you the link, which is based on the tuning approach, which indeed tried to relate, and also the WEXA project, to relate to the needs of society in a far better way than we did before. So what we have developed, of course, you have as well, is a qualifications framework, but the qualifications framework is often not related to the real needs of society. We have tried to make frameworks which you can use easily in your context, also define your own program learning outcomes, your profiles, as materials to make a tremendous step forward. Because the problem is not knowledge acquisition. The problem is, how do you develop skills effectively, and how do you develop developing responsibility for society effectively. This requires clear statements what you're looking for, but also the methods, the approaches to actually learn this in class. And that's why also centers of staff reform, having open debates among teachers is so important, because you are not able to make that step without having this intensive discourse. And as I said, for example, work placements are a very good instrument, and we discovered this now in Europe recently, and we have special projects for it at European level. This is a very effective way of reaching out to society. We also made in the Kalari project a framework for civic, social, and cultural engagement, which gives you, let's say, statements, reference points for what we're looking for in this respect. If you don't name it, if you don't put it on paper, it's very difficult also to develop it. So having these frameworks, having these reference frameworks are quite crucial for making the next step with regard to implementation. I'll leave it to this.
Yes, Dr. Moose, actually, I have a question from your experience at the international office. As you know, to implementing, or now we are just starting the internationalization process, which it means we need maybe many years to get it in a good way, or to become a familiar, or to become an international university. We are facing a big issue, the recognition from the other university. As I think maybe you know about that. For example, when we apply, when we try to find a partner, especially the European partners, it's not an easy to accept us or most of the universities from this region. So what's your suggestion how we can how we can do this? Because usually when we try to have a communicate with some international offices abroad, they are even sometimes they don't respond, they don't have any response, or sometimes they just apologize, they say we don't have an this is not our target. So what's your suggestion regarding this kind of difficulties that we are facing every day, actually? Yeah, thank you. Also, Mr. Ali, I think Jacob raised his hand when I was talking.
Jacob, you can unmute your.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jacob, you can unmute your mic, please. You have access.
Okay, well, maybe 2 points to this question. One thing is that how to approach another university that you potentially want to win as a partner. So we, of course, it's also our daily business, of course, to receive such requests, but also at the beginning of our activities here, of course, we also did our self-approach other universities that we wanted to link up with. And the question is always, why do you do that? Why do you want to partner with that university? And it's the reason must always be either or and to that you have complementary strengths in research or education. So there must be something in for the partner to join you in a partnership. And this needs to have a little bit work beforehand. So you need to screen what are you good at? So what are your research areas where you think you're really strong, or what do you have to offer in education? And then you have a look at the website or other sites where you can then see what would be the best partner for you to link up with. Or if you have the partner identified and you, for whatever reason, want to establish a link exactly with that partner, you must look for these joint interests where maybe researchers would have maybe interest to cooperate with each other. And if it is about student exchange, of course, then you must, of course, declare that you have already implemented the ECTS system. And then, of course, you can also say, okay, well, and we, by the way, we already have ECTS exchange program with University of Groningen or Göttingen or with whomever, because if you demonstrate that you have this exchange in place already, I mean, that is Bologna, then you can do this with any other European university. So if, of course, recognition in certain fields is, of course, then a different question, but basically you are in the position to send students abroad and receive students and have the recognition because you have ECTS in place. And so then you can give this as an example so that this would satisfy then the new partner. But the very important point is always at the very beginning to demonstrate, okay, well, we are strong here, you are strong there, why not working together? And if it's a very generic question, then it's very likely that it's just put down. So I also receive very often emails from a university, let's say from Africa, we have interest in student exchange. So what can we do? So, and then it's very difficult because I cannot even forward this request to one of the faculties. So because none of the faculties is being addressed, I don't know what they want. So then it's very likely that I also respond, so please specify your request, otherwise I cannot help, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I can pick up there because we had a question discussed during one of the past workshops here in Göttingen, and it's very important that you know the profile of your institution and the strengths of your institution. And if you look at your university and the situation the Kurdistan region maybe is generally in, you say, well, where can I find the strengths to make cooperation with my university attractive? And I think you have to, as did many of you, you have to connect with your researchers and see what they are doing and try to develop with them what could be interesting, what kind of project and cooperation could be interesting to, for example, European universities to initiate this kind of cooperation. And I think you have to look for unique resources you have in Kurdistan. For example, if you look at Dr. Poller from the Kurdistan Institution for Strategic Studies, he is active in the area of geology, and you have very interesting structures there for researchers that are interesting to international researchers. You have biodiversity, which is very specific to your region. You have archaeology, which is very specific to your region, which is very important and very interesting for example, European partners. And you try to profile your university and the surrounding you're in, your context you're in, and based from there, develop proposals which with you can approach foreign universities and ask them to set up cooperation. Or for example, you have a very troublesome history with the fight against Saddam Hussein and the gas attacks, and now you have the situation with the fight against the Islamic State and all these terrible things that happened. But for example, addressing those issues with research and research projects can be very interesting for European researchers. Psychology, politics, history, genocide studies, all these areas you have, due to your history, very interesting research opportunities which could be interesting and which could be interesting to exploit for your own society. Yeah, and so you have a lot which goes for you. You simply have to use the opportunities that present themselves, and you have to be aware of them. Yeah, and this is only possible if you work as an administration, like from the international office and the university leadership, together with your faculties, your colleges, and the researchers there, and develop initiatives. And this you can present then to foreign or European universities for cooperation. And another point I would like to make is you already stated that you have interest in going on, in continuing projects, in continuing reform in the Kurdistan region. I think we discussed it also during the last workshop in March, where you were motivated to come up with your own project ideas. And I think for the Kurdistan region as a whole, it's very important that you address two points or issues which are related to infrastructure. So for example, we also talked about the digital infrastructure now to address the COVID-19 pandemic, yeah, where you need the internet connection, you need the computers, and so on and so forth. And I see, because we had this in the project as well, these are areas for the Kurdistan region to invest, both from the ministerial point as well as from the point of the individual universities. You have to put money into infrastructure, and maybe more important than this IT equipment area is the area of getting access to literature and simply many of the Kurdish researchers I have met tell me I don't have access to ranked journals, to the newest developments in my own field. And I think this is an area, because it's very cost intensive to get access to this kind of literature. I think that the Kurdish universities need to pool their resources and set up a joint collaboration to enable the access to this kind of resources for enhancing, for example, your own research capabilities. And by doing this jointly, for example, through this network of internationalization practitioners, by doing it jointly, you save a lot of costs. Yeah, in Germany, you have also cooperation projects. Every university can access the literature of another university based in the same region. So I think coming to a cooperative arrangement in the Kurdistan region in this area should be one of the focus points of Kurdistan in the future.
And maybe one additional remark, maybe rather to the ministry, but also to the rectors, maybe. Of course, it's extremely helpful that after you have done this investigation, what the strength of the partner is, what the complementarities are, and then being in the position to invite a key person from the partner to your institution is of course very helpful. And this of course calls for a mobility program and some financing. So this is then of course at the end of the email, of course, a good thing if then could say, well, listen, we have this and that conference maybe next year, or why don't you come and visit us? Now, of course, a bit difficult, but anyways, normally this is a good thing. And as Jacob already mentioned, you have a lot of interesting and unique things to offer in Kurdistan, where many professors here in Europe or other parts of the world would, of course, probably like to go to or to see or to investigate for a first short visit. And then, of course, given your great hospitality, of course, then the trap could snap and get the partner in cooperation. So this is this would be my advice, to really do a good investigation, find a good partner, and then invite him or her to the region to demonstrate what you have to offer. This is or to offer by means of an interesting conference, maybe with selected speakers from abroad. This could also be but I see that many partnerships really started by physical meetings, either in conferences or while somebody was at the institution for a week or so, and then there's a re-invitation if the vibrations are good, and then things start.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Moos, Jacob, for your inputs. Actually, I would like to ask especially the focal points on the partners, if they have any further questions or suggestion or any recommendation for today. I mean, for this conference. Because the time is also running, so we need to go through it. So any partners would like to ask? Yes, Dr. Nawzad, I think, yes, Dr. Nawzad, please. Okay, Dr. Ali, can you please? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So my question is to Dr. Vamos. So the question is there any plan after finishing this project for further works to work on the same, which is meaning same role or same functions, please?
Yes. Okay. Now, now you should hear me. Well, actually, no, not such a thing like TIGRIS is, as Robert Wachener already mentioned. There will be also no opportunity for next spring for a new proposal. I know that some of the TIGRIS partners are part of a new capacity building project. I think. Coordinated or co-coordinated by Duhok University, if I'm not mistaken. So there is another project which is also in terms of content quite similar, which surprised me a little bit. And Key Action 107 is there will be no call next spring. So usually it's always in February, the deadline. So there will be none. Actually, we must now trust and work on bilateral cooperation in maybe other funding lines like German Academic Exchange Service or others. I don't know what your ministry maybe has to offer. And of course, in European programs, there are also different program lines that one could go for, also in research, Marie Curie actions, and so on, which one has to go into once you know what you want to do. So there's always coming from the perspective of what do we want, and then we screen the potential donors, what can be realized or not. But in this funding line, capacity building or bilateral cooperation, Erasmus Plus, there will be no call next spring. So we got to look for something different. With some, we are in cooperation, in ongoing cooperation in Key Action 107 from previous calls. But at the moment, there will be no new call next spring.
Okay, thanks. I think we are going to concluding TIGRIS project. So now let's welcome Dr. Kawa Sherwani again to close the concluding ceremony of the TIGRIS project with Dr. Moose. So let's go with Dr. Kawa. So if you kindly just unmute your mic, please.
Yes. Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. We had a very good dialogue and good presentations, actually, good seminars. I would like to thank all the participants from the university presidents and representative from Ministry of Higher Education, stakeholders, European partners, all the other participants. Thank you very much for your effort, for your participation. I would like to mention 3 points here in the concluding remarks for this concluding conference. That first of all, one of these presentations talked about sustainability. Sustainability is very important here. We need to continue to work on these projects that we had in this project. For example, if I talk about Erbil Polytechnic University, we have a strategy for internationalization, and we need to work on the internationalization. We do not stop at the end of this project, but we and all the other universities need to work continuously on the recommendations, suggestions of this project. And second, we need to have future collaborations, especially with the European partners, universities and others. So hopefully we can have more dialogue with them and to have future projects like this one for the future. I suggest that the 8 universities and the Ministry of Higher Education continue to have the platforms that we use now in social media, WhatsApp, Viber. We have groups, and sometimes we discuss many things in these groups. So let's continue these discussions so that we can arrive at some new ideas and new projects to work on, even between our local universities. So usually when we talk about internationalization, we talk about having collaborations with international institutions, but it is important to have local collaborations between the Kurdistani universities and even Iraqi universities all over the Iraq, to have joint conferences, joint degrees, joint programs. This is very important. So hopefully in the future, we can work on these things. Thank you very much again for your participation, for your time. Thank you, Dr. Moose.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kawa. And Dr. Moose, you can unmute your mic, please. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Kawa. Well, now it's, I was just recalculating. So it's not after 3 years of TIGRIS. Actually, we started 4 years ago when we stuck our heads together at that time and involved also Carlos Machado, who is invisible in the background, but as he always does, he is observing critically, but also is always giving very positive input. He helped us basically a lot by putting together this proposal where it all started with. So this was a very competitive funding line also. So we were already proud at that time to be successful, and then these EU projects, and for many of you it was the first EU project to be involved in, are very challenging, and you experienced that. There was a lot of hustle with the administration and the timesheets and list of participants and whatnot ever. And I said that 3 years ago when we had the kickoff here, at the end of the day after this project, you also go out of this project as a partner with the experience in such an EU project. And also this, coming back also to what Ranj was asking, this is also to be demonstrated to other universities you want to cooperate with, because you already have this experience now. And then the European partner knows, okay, well, they know what they are going for if they go for such a thing again. So it is very difficult. And on top of that, and with our ambitious goals that we really had at the beginning, and quite difficult circumstances then that the TIGRIS has gone through with the economic situation and COVID-19 and so on. At the end, I think we all can be pretty proud of what we have achieved, and that you in Kurdistan now have a better basis and probably a good starting point for future cooperation to sustain this process of internationalization and to go for new partnerships to the benefit of improved research and education, and basically at the end for the good of society in Kurdistan and beyond. And Erbil Polytechnic University today took the chance also to showcase the development in their institution. And my congratulations to that. And again, thank you for hosting this conference, and with a very great participation, 177 participants at the peak, and basically without any technical difficulties, we have gone through this conference. So again, this is quite an achievement, and is not for granted that it works so well. Finally, my thanks, of course, also go to all partners, active participation, especially from Kurdish side, from the ministry and the co-coordinating institution, KISR, but everybody who contributed in the one or the other way to the success of TIGRIS. In particular, of course, also looking at today's conference, to the active participation of the speakers. Maybe to highlight, because I really liked his contribution a lot, Robert Wachener, thank you very much. This was not, as we in Germany always say, 0, 8, 15 contribution from your side. There were a lot of hints, especially for TIGRIS and the Kurdish situation. Thank you for taking your valuable time for this closing ceremony of TIGRIS. TIGRIS is not at the end, so we still have a couple of weeks and months to put all the reports and things together. And having said that, my final thanks go, of course, to my beloved team here in Göttingen with Jacob and Laura for the constant work behind, because this was by far not only on my shoulders, but rather on theirs. And so thank you all, and I hope to see you all again in the near and further future in new activities. And I wish you all a good day and a bright future in your institutions to the benefit of all. Thank you so much, and goodbye.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining. On behalf of Erbil Polytechnic University, we would like to thank you for joining this event and very successful project and long-term project. So we we were happy to host you at Erbil Polytechnic University. Thanks for joining again, and I hope you all stay safe, and thanks again. Have a good day.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Finish.